for entertainment for a fundraiser, outreach, youth night, date night, or for a conference? Does your team need a way to improve team camaraderie, confidence, and communication? Well, look at Well-Versed Comedy for a show, performance, or workshop. Well-Versed Comedy is Chicago's clean comedy team, and we're ready to serve you, your audience, or your organization. We've headlined our own shows at the Second City, at Getty's Comedy Club in Indianapolis, and started our own TV show called His Line. And we've raised over $5,000 for charity in just the last 2 years. We are now booking for your back-to-school bash, fundraiser, and even your holiday parties. Contact us today and let's see how a night of high-energy, clean, original, family-friendly comedy can make your next event memorable for all the right reasons. Connect with us on social media at WellVersedCMDY. That's at WellVersedCMDY, or online at wellversedcomedy.com. wellversedcomedy.com. For booking information, email us improv@wellversedcomedy.com.
Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of Gifts for Glory live on Facebook, on YouTube, and also going to be replayed on the Creative Motion Network, going to be on the Taken TV podcast channel. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be. And if you're just listening on our podcast platform of your choice, we thank you for tuning in and checking us out. If you are on a podcast platform, please like us, share us, and leave us a review if you enjoy the program. And also feel free to give us feedback. We're a huge fan of feedback. And if there's something we can do to make this better, we want to do that as well. So we're just thankful to have you along with us. As you saw before the opener, Well-Versed Comedy, we're looking to continue to book and schedule shows on into the fall of 2022 and into the spring of 2023. We believe that God gave us the gift of laughter, and we want to use it and spread as much of that joy in that light of Christ where we can, because we're in a world that is getting, it seems, or it truly feels increasingly darker. We want to bring a little bit of light and levity to the world and to your ministry, your church, or your organization, your maybe your place of business would like to throw an employee appreciation night where we bring some entertainment. Whatever it may be, get in contact with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at WellVersedCMDY, or reach us through our website at wellversedcomedy.com. That's wellversedcomedy.com. And now we want to dive into our Devotions with Dave segment. Our Devotions with Dave segment coming from one of my favorite passages because of how much power and impact that this devotion has. We're going to be reading from Psalm 139, 13 to 16. Talking to God, this is David writing the psalm, talking to God. You made all the delicate parts. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in the utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. That's Psalm 139, 13 to 16. And it's one of many passages that just affirm the beauty and the sanctity of what happens inside the womb of a mother. It's not just a clump of cells. It's not just a fetus. This is a human being being knit by the very hands of God according to his word. And we, especially within the body of Christ, we should celebrate and cherish that and also fight to protect it with every means that the Lord has given us. We should fight to protect those that can't defend themselves, that can't fight for themselves. The widows and the orphans and those who are helpless in need of protection. That's what we as the body of Christ are called to do. And I just think that this passage, along with the idea that the first person to recognize the arrival of the Messiah was an unborn baby. I think the Bible is clear that God values the babies that are being knit together in the darkness of the mother's womb. And we should strive, we should pray for protection. And it shouldn't just be about fighting for Roe versus Wade or the legislation that they're going to try to force through to keep abortion alive. It's a spiritual battle more than it could ever be a battle of legislation. So we've got to work to win the hearts, the souls, the spirits to save the babies, more so than fight to win the laws of the land, because our real enemy is not flesh and blood. Our real enemy is out there and is much more powerful than even we are. But we have the victory in Jesus, and we need to step into that. And that's what I believe that Psalm 139 reminds us of, is that God is literally knitting together the babies in the womb. And who are we as mere humans to look the other way as millions of babies have been just slapped out of his hand as if we know better? So that is our Devotion with Dave segment, a little bit of a stronger one, but it goes with the topic that we're discussing tonight. So I thank you so much for being with us tonight. And with our Devotion with Dave segment is now over. It's now time to bring in our guest. Our guest is her name is Annie Tang Humphrey. She's the Chief Operating Officer of Save the Storks, which is a national pro-woman, pro-life ministry that provides education, compassion, and holistic care on 67 Stork Buses and at pregnancy resource centers around the United States. Her personal journey of trials, trauma, loss, and perseverance inspired her to take a leap of faith and join Save the Storks after a successful 20-plus year career in the luxury jewelry industry, managing multi-million-dollar stores. Annie resides in San Diego with her husband, who's a military veteran, Craig. So we thank you, Craig, for your service. And we thank you, Annie, for your service. She's a proud mother of Jarod and Sydney. Connect with Save the Storks at SaveTheStorks.com. And this time, please welcome our guest joining us via audio, Annie. Annie, welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. When I first heard about Save the Storks many years ago, I fell in love with the concept and the idea of making sure that any woman that's wrestling with a decision, she has the most informed decision possible. Because one of the biggest things that you do is provide ultrasound so that you can prove that this is more than just a clump of cells, that this is a human being that God has blessed you with. So I really, truly enjoy what Save the Storks is about. But that's for me on the outside. Why don't you tell us about what you do with Save the Storks and about what Save the Storks is all about?
Yeah, hi. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Save the Storks. And what we've been working on is essentially like a three-pronged approach. We've been really making sure that the pregnancy resource centers across the nations have what they need, is equipped to truly serve women and meet them where they're at. And that we've been doing for quite some time. And in conjunction with our mobile medical unit that people know as Stork Buses. So that's been something that we've been working on for quite some time. But the new extensions that we've been adding on to our organizations is really the church partnerships as well as the community strategic partnerships. Those two components are so important because, as you just shared earlier, Roe versus Wade, whether it's overturned or not, we're not going to eliminate unplanned pregnancies altogether. Women are still going to be faced with that challenge from time to time. And we need to offer holistic care. We need to offer compassionate options and the right education. So really what we have to do is continue to really work to transform the language and the vibe and feel of our country. Because for over 50 years, what you have seen is that Roe versus Wade have somewhat engineered our society to see things in a way that's very, very far from the truth. Women are being lied to with certain narratives. The culture has been breathing down this message where abortion somehow equals empowerment, which is furthest from the truth. But unfortunately, our youth are also victimized by this type of narratives, because when you go into a college onto a college campus and you see a college student that is met with unplanned pregnancies, the first thing in her mind is probably like, I probably need to get an abortion, or I cannot go on, being pregnant because my future is going to be ruined. That's the kind of that is the kind of narrative that's been embedded in everyone, starting from age of 7 to 8 years old. You have these abortion clinic messagings that is reaching the younger generation with the "my body, my choice" or "ban of my body" slogans. So a lot of these conversations that's floating around. So what we're trying to do on our end is that, yes, we're a pro-life organization, but we are really more pro-solution, pro-love, pro-women, and pro-grace. And what we want to do is permeate that message throughout our society so that we can essentially ignite the paradigm shift of people rethinking how they view life, rethink how they can evaluate um, what they're doing to support women who are faced with an unplanned pregnancy, and how they can change the conversation altogether. Um, and so we know that just pregnancy resources centers alone can't do the tricks, because women go in there in the middle of their pregnancy crisis. They're met with these beautiful individuals that's going to guide them through that decision and share with them all the options. But once they leave that pregnancy resource center, or once they get off of that Stork bus, what happens? That woman is still have to endure the remainder of her pregnancies. That woman is still going to need support after the baby is born, right? That baby is still need to have, child care. That woman is still going to need to get a job. I mean, there's just a lot of day-to-day requirement that's going to be tied to this decision for life. And so what we want to do is figure out what we can to really allow that woman to feel empowered to not just say yes to life, but also feel like she has this empowering, endearing pathway to not just struggle to survive, but really ultimately thrive. And then she turned and become an advocate for life. And in order to do that, churches have to step way up. And that is one of the problems that we're trying to solve, is because when you look across our country, there are over 300,000 churches between Catholics and Christians, and you name it. But very small percentage of those churches actually have a well-rounded pro-life, pro-love expression. They could be pro-life but very judgmental, or they just don't talk about the topic altogether. Neither one is good, because what's happening is you have 4 out of 10 women sitting inside of churches today that are regular churchgoers that feel like they can't share their unplanned pregnancy circumstances, or they have an abortion history but they are too afraid to tell. So they're kind of walking that life-changing journey all alone. And that is what we're trying to change. And the only way to change this is for churches to be able to articulate the conversation in a gentle, compassionate, but truthful way. We got to be the light and the salt. We are there to exercise grace, but we cannot remove the salt from our earth. And what we have to do is to be able to kind of weave this back into our church conversation. We want women to know that they have a safe place in their church homes, that they can be who they are, and that they will be loved upon, and there will be support for them, so that they can actually live a story of hope and empowerment through their support through the churches. So what we've been working on is really, one, come together and figure out what kind of curriculums or what kind of training we can provide to churches so that they feel equipped and empowered to have this type of a approach to communicate the pro-life, pro-love conversation to the congregation, and have strategies and programs in place to allow that effort to grow. And then at the same time, we realize, okay, so now we got the churches and the pregnancy resource centers working with each other and really being there in their communities. There's still something missing, and that is the That is the before pregnancy and the after pregnancy conversation, and that's where the community comes in, right? There's so many wonderful organizations in each community that are pro-life, that are pro-women, that are pro-families, but not all of them um, have been able to really just appear in the search engine, or they're not easily found when you're trying to search for these places online. Is because if you actually just go to Google right now and type in, I think I'm pregnant, you're going to see a lot of abortion clinic or abortion oriented conversations or website pop up. And so that makes it really difficult for a woman who is trying to figure out what to do, to see any hope in the fact that there are resources to help her. So what we're working on is really just leveraging the power of unity, the power of togetherness of all of these amazing organizations, and leveraging a platform so that they are able to just come together as one giant database, so that when people are searching, all of these organizations kind of work together to essentially um, beat the SEO game, if you will, in the digital realm, so that they're able to see, so that women and men or whoever is looking for
And I don't know if you can hear me,
all
but I
of
think
these
we lost you for about
um,
15 seconds. So I don't know if you want
amazing
to.
organizations will.
Sorry about
Hi,
that. There you
we,
are. We lost you for about 15 seconds. So I don't know if you can go back and kind of restate what you just said, because we lost audio for just a few moments.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, with the community segment, that we recognize is that we want the resources to be readily available effortlessly, because you see people are constantly on their phone, they're constantly on their computer. We got all this technology, all these resources. What can we do to really bring it to these women and men or people who are looking for answers? And that is where our project for every woman um, came to light. For every woman will be launched beginning of July. So regardless of what happens with Roe versus Wade, we want women to find answers and find help and find support faster, and also not be bombarded with abortion conversation, but rather life affirming conversations and support to help her navigate through her decision. And so with For Every Woman, what we're doing is we're collaborating with various organizations and various pregnancy resource centers, and allowing them to all take an active role in this particular platform. So it's kind of like the Amazon of pro-life. Amazon Marketplace was able to kind of essentially push Walmart down in the search engine, just because they have collaborated with so many businesses. So what we want to do is have this platform that we're collaborating with multiple organizations that offer something great to help that woman thrive. So in that togetherness and that power of unity, we're we're hopeful that maybe Planned Parenthood's conversations and their presence will be a lot more dim, so
Yeah.
that women could actually be greeted with truth, be greeted with hope, and be greeted with real solutions and real options to make decisions, for her and for her babies. So when you take a look at this, really what Save the Storks is trying to achieve is that we leverage pregnancy resource centers' presence in their community. We ignite the churches to really go, full throttle with their pro-life and pro-love conversations. And then we are collaborating with community builders and strategic partners across the country to unleash the possibility of celebrating and serving every life, and essentially unlock people's desire to just be that woman's village, to be that child's village. Because, generally when you kind of go into any community, regardless, what political party they're affiliated with, people want to be there to help. People want to do something good, but they may not know how. They may not know if it's in their place to say so. So essentially what we are working on, what we are doing is giving them the know-how, giving them the comfort to say, yes, you can. You can come alongside her so she doesn't have to walk alone. Yes, you can go and say that you celebrate life and you're there to stand for life. And there's nothing bad about that, because life is the ultimate truth. Because when you have life, there's hope. And when there's hope, possibility is endless. And I do all this because I have a 15-year-old daughter. I want her to grow up in an environment that is filled with joy and truth, and that she does not have to say abortion is the only way for her to exercise empowerment. I want her to be able to say, I can stand for life, and that is the more courageous way to go. And I do this because I personally had a very impulsive decision when I was in college. And the crazy thing is, in that very moment in time, the decision was made so quickly, so secretively, and so hazily. And then after it was done, I didn't talk about it or think about it for a very, very, very long time. And it was crazy because it wasn't until a few years ago a Stork Bus ad popped up on my Facebook when I was just kind of browsing through. And I was like intrigued. I was like, what is this bus? And what does it do? And as I watched the video, the craziest thing was that all of my memories from that abortion experience surfaced up in my mind. And that was more than 20 some years ago. And when I start thinking about it, I said, why am I thinking about this right now? This is like the weirdest thing. We don't talk about it. I don't want to feel it. And so I kind of just forced myself to kind of move on. And my brain kind of just, started thinking about something else. And only God would do this. 2 months later, I saw on LinkedIn, one of my former colleagues updated her position, and it showed that she had started with Save the Storks. I thought, that is the most bizarre thing. And then so of course I was forced to remember my abortion scenario again.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? This is not the time to think about this. I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff to do. So I suppressed it again. And from that day on, though, it was kind of haunting me. And it was really pushing me to kind of go back in time. And when I finally decided that I was not going to fight it anymore, and I started thinking back, and that's when I realized, even though it happened so long ago, even though the women at Planned Parenthood told me, hey, you don't need the baggage. It's very easy. Swipe your credit card and your problems will go away. The problem never really went away because it was sitting so vividly in my heart. And when I allow it to surface, I could remember the smell of the clinic. I can remember the coolness, the temperature. I remember the goosebumps I felt on my arms. I remember the faces of the women that were sitting in the room waiting for their turn. And you know what, Dave? Not a single one of those women had a smile on their faces. Not a single one of those women had the face of empowerment, like what Planned Parenthood is trying to promote. And I remember that day because there were some, protester up front. When the procedure was done, I had to sneak out from the back door and run away like a criminal. And when all of these things started to surface, I realized, oh, wow, the baggage didn't go away. It ended up becoming one of the heaviest baggage that I had to carry. And did things really change that much because I had an abortion? And my life truly better because of it, And now, being much older and thinking back, it's like, 9 months. What's 9 months really compared to 40 years, 30 years of your life, And what is 9 months, But the thing is, because like I share with you, our culture has created this false sense of urgency, making you feel like you have to hurry through a decision like that, making you think that's healthcare, making you think that's empowerment, making you think that is your right. And now, thinking back, I don't want my daughter to have that equation as part of her life story. I don't want her to grow up in that type. Being beautiful about abortion. In fact, the trauma stays with you forever.
Yeah.
It will always be there. Even though our God is a forgiving God, the scar will still remain. Even
Mhm.
though I know.
I lost you there for just a second. Your audio dropped out, but to catch those up that are joining us, we're with we're with Annie Humphrey, the COO of Save the Storks. They're launching a new initiative called For Every Woman. You can find out more information at savethestorks.org or foreverywoman.org. And this is a phenomenal ministry that works to empower women, that works to fight against in the spiritual war against abortion, because it is a spiritual battle more than it is anything with legislation. So tonight we're interviewing Annie Humphrey. She's the COO of SaveTheStorks.com. It was where you can find out more information. And Annie, one of the things that really struck me as you were speaking is the new initiatives and everything that Save the Storks is all about. You guys are combating the narrative that says that pro-lifers are only about babies being born, and they're not about caring for the women or the children after they're born. But it sounds like Save the Storks is fighting that narrative by being that holistic advocate for women as they carry to term, and then as they start to walk it out as a mother. So it's just impressive that you guys are doing it and doing it well. And I'm really excited about this For Every Woman new initiative. So can you talk to that for a moment about that holistic approach to caring about not just getting a baby born, but also helping the mother and this new baby, this new gift from God, helping them combat some of the struggles that they have. I think that's really an important piece of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we want that mom to thrive. We want that mom to be an advocate for life. And so that is where these additional organizations come in, because we know that the churches have the people who want to serve and want to be there. We know that there are organizations out there that have such beautiful programs to come alongside that mom after the baby's born, to come alongside that mom when the baby is, growing and learning. So that's where For Every Woman comes through, is that we don't want to just be there during the middle of the crisis. We want to be there before, so that the conversation can start changing. And then we wanted to be there after, so that she will continue to just reinforce and be confident in the fact that she chose life, and it's such a beautiful decision, and that she can continue to stand by it and be an advocate because of it. And so with For Every Woman, we will continue to work diligently, state by state, county by county, to find, resources, whether it's healthcare, insurance, food, childcare, whatever it is under the sun that's available, and we will have that on that site. But also, what we will be doing is we'll be presenting this to legislators and government officials in each county and each state, to let them know it doesn't matter what aisle you stand politically. But you
Mm-hmm.
know what? When you can bring solutions to your citizens, letting them know that there are a buffet of options for them to exercise and to take advantage of, and to utilize, then you will be, truly serving your people. And that is what we are hoping to do, so that people can understand that that churches is not just the building, that you have these people that are willing to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And what better way to exercise that love of Jesus Christ than to be there to serve that mom and to serve that baby. So we wanted to unlock that passion to serve within our churches. And then we wanted to unlock the potentials of all of these amazing organizations out there that may not have the exposure needed to actually be connected with the women who need them. So through our For Every Woman platform, we're hoping to bring all those to life so that we are able to truly change the conversation, because solutions are there and education's there, and that we're able to educate, enlighten, and essentially elevate our society as a whole.
Yeah. And that's so needed, and such an important work that Save the Storks is doing, that For Every Woman is doing. So I thank you for that, and we pray blessings on you all for fighting that good fight. So at this time in our show, I want to transition over to what's always my favorite part of the show, and that is hearing our guests' testimony. We each week we share testimonies of how people came to know Jesus and how he became the Savior. And I just love the million different ways that we all get to that same narrow road, that same narrow gate. So for you, Annie, how did you grow up? Were you growing up in a Christian home, or how did you find Jesus in your path?
I actually, I actually did grow up in a Christian home. My mom and my grandmother and my great grandmother were all Christians, and it's a little bit more rare in the Asian culture. I came here from Taiwan, and as you know, predominantly in the Taiwanese Chinese cultures, mainly Buddhism, that kind of is the main religion. But surprisingly, we have several generations of Christians in my household. But I didn't really I didn't really have a strong relationship with Jesus until I came to the United States. We immigrated to the United States when I was about 12 and a half, 13 years old. And that was a middle school age time frame. And I don't know if anybody can relate, but middle school is a rough rough place. And especially, when we first came to San Diego, it it was really it was not a very friendly experience, let's put it this way. My bus rides to school were really hard. We have these girls that would pull my hair ribbon off and throw it out the window because they thought that was funny. I would have a hard time finding a seat, even though just because I dressed different, I couldn't speak English, and that they would make fun of me. And I would go home and be very, very sad about this entire experience. And then remember, back then we didn't have dictionary so that I can learn different words, and it was really tough. And my mom was working 2 jobs to make ends meet, and I didn't want to worry her. And those are the days that I started to just kind of lock myself up in the bathroom, take these long showers so I could cry my eyes out without her hearing it. But during those times, I felt the tug of God's warmth in me. For some reason, I started hearing myself having this conversations like, I know this is not going to be forever. I know this is I'm going to get through this. So somehow, through that very, very unpleasant experience, I felt God's warmth, and I felt God showing me and sharing with me it's going to be okay. And then fast forward a few years later, I was in high school, and I ended up becoming the peer counselor for some of those mean girls, which I was so happy. And that was actually the time that I really understood what it means to be the hands and feet of Jesus, right? Hands and feet of Jesus isn't just about being there when things are okay or when things fit into my narrative. Hands and feet of Jesus meaning that I'm able to be there to serve, even to people who are not nice to me. And in that process, the ability to exercise grace gave me such a beautiful experience. So it wasn't really, it was me that I got to walk away with a better understanding of what it means to be a Christian. And it was at that time I realized Jesus is not just my savior, he is my Lord. And
Mm.
then, and by knowing and experiencing Jesus as my Lord, I really got to experience more. And that's when I would say the first transition to my deep relationship with God. But then, a little bit after, what ended up happening was that in college things get a little bit messy. And
Mhm.
and while in middle school and high school, um, we were living with my uncle, my aunt, and then I had some really unpleasant experiences there with my uncle. And so
Mhm.
so I think a lot of the things that caused me to see things differently took place during that time. And so the way I value myself, or I didn't value myself, the way that I perceive what it means to be loved was a little bit was a little bit off, right? And then
Mhm.
so that's where the college era became this reckless experience, of me looking for validation, finding myself, finding love, all in the wrong places. And that's when, like I shared with you briefly, that's when I was faced with an unplanned pregnancy, and then rush into these decisions, and then try to like just not talk about it for a long time.
Mhm.
But as I enter real adulthood, I found myself making peace with with God, and even though I wasn't talking about my abortion story, I knew that has forgiven me.
Yeah.
But I guess I just wasn't able to forgive myself. And
Mm.
I just, and then, like I said, by not talking about it, it kind of just felt like it was not there until I had to, revisit it after 25 years later, and to really connect myself to that past and to really look at it head on and say, what am I supposed to do with this? And that's when I realized I can't hide it anymore. It's like when you have a wound, if you don't ever let it air out, it will never ever heal for real.
Right.
So that's, when all that took place, I finally gathered the courage to write all of this out in an email and send it to that former colleague of mine that I share with you that ended
Mhm.
up working for Save the Storks. And it was the first time I wrote everything out. And I was even thinking to myself, my gosh, she is such a devoted Christian. She's probably never going to talk to me again.
Mm.
But to the contrary, she emailed me right back with some of the most beautiful and most compassionate words. And that's when I realized this is what love feels like. This is what pro love looks like. This is what
Mhm.
pro life is supposed to look like. Um, and so, needless to say, the rest was history. But it wasn't until last year, though, I was able to gather enough courage to stand on a stage and share with thousands of people my abortion history. And only then I realized God does have these beautiful redemption stories for us, and that I was able to really unlock yet another layer of my relationship with the Lord. Um, and and then thinking back, this former colleague of mine that's now, the CEO of Save the Storks, Diane Ferraro, she
Mhm.
was the one that worked with me at the jewelry organization, and then she was the one that I saw the update on LinkedIn. She was the one that I emailed, and it just thinking God's interwoven grace, how we
Mhm.
met each other so long ago, only so that we can now work together, and allowing me to share my redemption story so that other women will be empowered to actually begin their healing journey. And at the same time, tell the truth so that less women have to suffer the consequences of abortion, because there are just too many lies out there.
Yeah.
And so essentially, when we look at the mission of Save the Storks, when we look at the things that we are doing, it really is all about exposing the truth, but more importantly, permeate our space with love and compassion so that women truly can feel empowered, real empowerment, to choose life and really set their future to thrive.
So, do you have any testimonies of successes that you've experienced or been a part of, where a woman has come to Save the Storks and she's chosen life? Do you have any? Is there any testimonies or stories that stick out in your mind right now?
Well, we have a real story right now. I mean, I'm here at the Southern Baptist Convention here in Anaheim, and I had to bring this beautiful baby with me because
Mm.
this baby, she's going to be 3 months in a few days. I met the baby's mom in December, and this baby's mom actually has a pretty sad story, right? She was in orphanage since she was 6 because she was taken from her biological parents by the child welfare services, and then and the reunification never took place.
Mm.
So this this lady was in orphanage to 6, went through 13 different foster homes, and eventually got adopted by pretty abusive parents. So she had this whole journey of tragedies, and then she was faced with an unplanned pregnancy,
Mm.
And then found herself being homeless, no place to go. A few days before Christmas, I got a phone call, and turns out that she was, not suited for a maternity home that she was in, and she was going to be dropped off at a bus stop while being
Mm.
6 months pregnant. So at Save the Storks, we decided that we called 60 different places, from the border of San Isidro, where San Diego and Mexico meet, all the way
Mhm.
up to Ventura. We called a bunch, and people were organizations were either not able to accept new patients, or she did not fit a certain prototype, and because she does battle with some mental health illnesses, that some people won't take her. So,
Mm.
so we finally decided to put her at a hotel near near my home. And during the holidays, didn't want her to be alone. So we kind of just, our entire organization just kind of poured out all these love and prayers and encouraging messaging for this young lady. And then finally, when the baby was born, she was still not out of the woods because child welfare services kind of have her flag because her mental health
Mm.
concerns. So the difference is because we were there with her, because we were able to leverage all of these beautiful organizations like EMA, Every Mother's Advocate, Embrace Grace. She was able to get this amazing nucleus of support so that she did not have to deal with all of these obstacles alone. And so because of that, um, she knows that she has needs to heal, so she's able to do that. And then while we kind of just have take turns and then just have all these amazing advocates that just like watching the baby or helping her, with her apartment, and helping her with different errands. And so yes, I mean, we are literally getting the front row seat to watch the miracle unfold. This baby is incredible, and this mom is really committed to write a different story for herself, so that she gets to give herself a chance to just have a whole new world
Mm.
unlocked for her, and all these possibilities. While this and this mom has decided to choose adoption for this baby, so that another one of our strategic partner is working really diligently to help us connect the right family with this mom and this baby, so that they each can have these beautiful stories
Mm.
to be told, and truly, um, build these beautiful testimonies of hope and empowerment. And so, yeah, so this is our most recent examples, and there's so many of this out there. And imagine if we can kind of do this, if every church, if every community decided to open their eyes and open their heart, how many families can we help? How many babies can we help? And how many happy endings can we create?
Absolutely, and it's beautiful, and that's the thing that that I've found in different things, that sometimes the hardest thing to do in the world is to get Christians and to get churches to work together, and not for the sake of their own church, but for the sake of the kingdom in general. And have you found that has been a struggle, or do you find that churches are more willing to jump on board because this is a very specific mission?
Yeah, because the topic of pro-life is so controversial in many ways, a lot of churches are afraid to jump on board or afraid to
Mhm.
touch the topic. And that's why, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, our church partnership program is so intentional and so passionate about unlocking those doors and really just providing churches with the needed resources to open up their ability to talk about this and to really help women and meet them where they're at. In fact, when if the listeners or viewers go onto our website and look through the church partnership section, they will find that there are resources, and we'd love for them to connect with Joseph, who is the director of our church partnership, because he's about to launch a brand new curriculum in August. And that curriculum is essentially like the CPR for churches in terms of dealing with women who are facing unplanned pregnancies.
Mm.
It's so love based, it's so compassionate, but it has real life applications to help the churches navigate through these tough conversations with love and holistic care, but also allowing the churches to create this healthy narrative within their four walls, to show how they can come alongside and walk with her, and that she won't be navigating through that alone. So we understand the challenges that the churches face when it comes to the conversation of pro-life. So, as a very solution-driven organization, our director and church partnership have put together this very comprehensive curriculum, and then um, we have other supplemental um, materials that we would continue to provide the churches so that they can work together, with their communities as well with pregnancy resource centers to just build these bridges of hope and bridges of support for every woman and to serve every life.
Wow. That's amazing, and I'm so glad to hear that the work continues and that you are getting the support. But I want to encourage, if you are a church leader and you want to get on board with helping to save babies, to empower women, to just make a difference, go to savethestorks.com and also look for savethestorks.com/partner program as your way to get your church signed up and to be a partner in this ministry. So again, for those listening, it's the website savethestorks.com. And if you're looking for the partner program, look for savethestorks.com/partner program, or follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Save the Storks. There are two final segments that we have on each show, and they're fun because a lot of the topics we carry on here get to be kind of heavy, and we want to end with hope. So we have a little bit of fun as we end each show. The first segment that we're going to end with, this is called the interrogation. It's 7 random questions that otherwise wouldn't have fit in the rest of the conversation. And they're mostly softballs, but might be a challenging one or two in there for you. So here is the interrogation. So question number 1, other than the Bible, because that's kind of too easy and kind of a cheat, what is your all-time favorite book?
That's a very, very good question. I would say one of my favorite book. Let me think one in English that because I actually have a favorite one that is in Chinese, But
Okay.
let me think. Let me give you one that's in English. That is not the Bible. I actually, I actually really, really love the book. How does keep on?
You actually broke up there.
Because
It was like
be,
a technology cliffhanger. You said your favorite book is what? Are you still with us?
I think you may have lost me for a second. Are you able to hear
Yeah.
me?
You actually cut out right as you were saying my favorite book is, and it was like this cliffhanger moment. So what was the title you said just a moment ago?
How to how how to win friends?
Oh, nice. And is it has it been proven successful? Have you won a lot of friends? All right, well, let's go on to our second interrogation question. Um, the question number 2 would be, who is on your playlist?
Well, I have Matt. And so we have Matt Hammett on my playlist. He joined our team beginning of this year, and he and his family was just such inspiration to all of us. I mean, Matt Hammett is a two-time Grammy nominated Christian singer, but more importantly, he's the father of this amazing son that that has a heart condition that the doctor had asked the mom to had encouraged the mom to abort, but they obviously did not. And their son has such.
Wow. I think you cut out again. Are you still there?
I'm not quite sure why all of a sudden the connections seem to be very.
Mm.
Were you able to hear what I shared about Matt Hammett and his son?
I heard
And
a
so
part of it about the doctor actually encouraged her to have an abortion, but it sounded like obviously she made a choice not to.
right, and then so her son Bowen, their son Bowen, is this amazing testimony. In fact, his son's song right here is also on my playlist because it's such a beautiful
Mm.
song. If you guys look it up, you'll see that he's this just talented young man. He's 11 years old and is able to sing his story in a way that is going to change so many lives.
Awesome. All right. Question number 3. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, I would probably say Julianne, even is because we travel quite a bit, but Julianne is
Mm.
actually not far from my house, but it's such a great place to kind of get away, and you're kind of back into this 1800 vibe, and that you're
Oh,
able to just you know um, really disconnect from the world and just kind of enjoy the scenery. Cambria comes to a close second, though. It's pretty much the same thing. Cell service is very limited, so you are forced to really just connect with the people you're with.
awesome. And what a unique concept to actually disconnect from the world and reconnect with people that you're actually with. That sounds great. Question number 4. If you could, what is something that you wish you could do over? Now, there's two ways to take this. Is this you could take it as something you want to go back and fix, or you want to go back and just relive a special moment. So either way works.
Well, I think there are many things that I probably would want to do over or relive. But, as I share with you, I think one of the things, if I get to go back as my wiser self in my college time, I would choose life for the baby that was growing inside.
Mm. Question number 5. How do you recharge?
A few different things. I recharge, believe it or not, when I hang out with my son and my daughter. We do a lot of arts and crafts. We also do a lot of cooking experiments, and those experiences are actually the best recharging method for me personally, so that I'm able to just kind of get back and go back into the grind.
Very good. Question number 6. What has been your proudest moment?
My proudest moment, really the two most proud moments were the day my son was born and the day my daughter was born. And that, and really there's nothing quite like it. When you are holding them in your arms and just really just breathe in the possibilities, and yeah, so those were my two very proud moments.
Awesome. All right, and final question of the interrogation is, what keeps you going in your work? Because obviously fundraising, maybe a lady has chosen that despite the effort, she's going to go ahead and go through with it. So I know that you go through some ups and downs in your work, but what keeps you going as COO of Save the Storks?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There are days that are really, really tough, So really what keeps me going is keeping my eyes on the fact that we're here to really carry out this mission for God. So it's not for me, it's not for my CEO, it's not for anyone, but for God, because babies are precious, lives are precious, women are precious, and every single one is made in his image. And so because of that, we have to keep on doing the work that we do, so that the truth can be the theme, and love can be the theme, and compassion can be the theme of our society, and really start to wipe away the ugliness of abortion. And so the sense of urgency is there, because every day when I look at my daughter, I tell myself, we gotta continue to work and fight hard so that we can create a world that is better for her.
That's good. That's really good. All right. Well, Annie, the final question I always pose to our guests is for anyone that's looking to step up to use their gifts for God's glory, and that could be their gifts, their talents, their passions, or even their experiences. What would you give as your wise counsel for them?
But they wanted to step up. I truly believe serving and pro-life is such a great way, because as I just shared with you, there's like a whole spectrum of needs, and there's just a wide range of opportunity to serve. And so I would say, if someone wants to step up and really utilize their gift, check out our website and then connect with our volunteer platform, because through that you may get plugged into a whole different arena that you didn't even think is possible, because we don't just when we connect people with the volunteer work, it's not just about serving at a booth or greeting at an event. we really tap you in, anywhere from graphic designing to research to website building to, mentoring to fostering. I mean, the possibility is endless. And I would just say prayerfully ask God to unlock those doors and just allow you to see that pathway, um, to essentially utilize your gift for his glory.
Amen. And we just had a viewer chime in. Deanna Lane, she's a comedian from Florida. She just chimed in and said, God bless you, Save the Storks, and Dave Ebert. So thank you for checking in, Deanne, and glad you made it safely back from Indiana. They had a Christian comedian retreat in Indiana this past weekend, so hope she's safe and sound down there. But yeah, that's a good word. Is the biggest thing is find a place to get involved, especially something as important as Save the Storks and part of the pro-life movement, because you really, truly get to get on the front lines in the battle between good and evil, between in the spiritual realm. So that's definitely a good word. So again, our guest tonight was Annie Tang Humphrey. She's the chief operating officer of Save the Storks. Connect with them at savethestorks.com or on social media at Save the Storks. And also check out their brand new initiative launching in July. You can find that at foreverywoman.org or on Instagram at _foreverywoman. And you can find all that at savethestorks.com as well. Annie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for being a part of the show, and more importantly, for the work that you do for the kingdom. Thank you for what you're doing and for what Save the Storks is doing. And as we wrap up, what's the biggest thing that people can do? Prayer obviously is first, but what's the biggest need right now for Save the Storks that somebody could find that they could get involved with?
Yeah. As you would see that the Stork Bus is one of our key initiatives, because these buses are, are there to meet these women before they are, before they make that decision. And and so we are, we're slotted to build 35 Stork Buses this year so that we can put more buses on the road and that we can have more of these vessels to meet women where they're at. And of course, chassis are not cheap, and these buses, not all mobile medical units are created equal either. So we are we're pretty intense with our quality control. We're pretty intense with our build process. So we invest a lot in building these buses. So financially, the Stork Buses is going to be one thing that we continue to ask for people to pray about, or if you have the ability to contribute financially, that will be a great, a great area to invest in. The other component is, as I share with you, our For Every Woman project. That is going to be such a game changer, because when Roe versus Wade is overturned, or if it gets overturned, there will be different narratives that people will be met with, and a lot of them is going to be fear. And so what we want to do is make sure that we find ways to ensure that from a digital perspective, the right information, the right resources are right there for women or for everyone that's looking for them. And so building this platform, building this digital enterprise is also going to require a lot of research, a lot of efforts, and a lot of financial investment. So if someone feel led to volunteer, this is where the volunteer can come in, because we're always looking for people to help with this research, so that we can continue to add meaningful resources and organizations onto that enterprise platform. And because this is not just a traditional website, this is equivalent to, like I shared, an Amazon like digital machine. So the development process and the maintenance process and the growth process of this this engine is going to also take financial means to make sure that it's done with quality and excellence. So, and because Save the Stork is 100% donor funded, we are truly grateful for everyone that is able to contribute and invest in us financially. At the same time, also the ones that are willing to invest their talent, for us, they are tremendously helpful as well.
Yeah. Well, Annie, again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. God bless Save the Storks, and encourage anybody, if you've got any talent or treasure that you can donate to support this organization and the work they do, please do. Most importantly, pray that God will continue to bless them, protect them, and provide every need as Save the Storks goes out there and tries to fight the pro-life fight on all fronts, not just saving babies, but also empowering women and being pro-life, pro-love, and pro-woman. So really want to thank Annie again. Find them at SaveTheStorks.com. And as we leave, want to invite you to join us on Wednesday, a special broadcast on Wednesday night as we interview Shirley Sorrentino. She's a woman who has been redeemed from many things, including spending time in the LGBTQ lifestyle. So we just want to share her story, and that's coming up on Wednesday night. Be published on podcast platforms on Thursday morning. And again, visit SaveTheStorks.com for all the information, how to get involved, how to donate, and of course, continue to pray for the organization. So, Annie, thank you again, and hope you have a great rest of your evening and that you enjoy the SBC.
Thank you so much, Dave. You have a nice evening yourself.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll
God
see
bless
everybody.
you.
God bless. We'll see everybody on Wednesday.